My 16th birthday is the one I recall most intensely because I didn't blow out candles that year. It's ironic because I always thought the birthday I'd remember most vividly would be my 15th. I'm a Brazilian woman, so that's the big milestone. However, it turned out to be my 16th. I didn't blow out candles because I didn't feel like I deserved to. It was almost like a part of me knew what was coming. Just a few months later, there I was, lying on my bed with no prospect of a future, a high school dropout, a medical leave diagnosed with severe clinical depression, refusing to accept help. I felt hopeless. I had been battling depression for years, and from that time, I still remember one particular moment. My phone ringing next to my bed, and me reaching over just to shut it off. Because I hadn't told any of my friends I wasn't coming back to school, and I just couldn't handle facing reality. The following months, they were a blur. But what I can still feel to this day, it's the air leaving my lungs. I'd grab the collar of my hoodie, thinking it was too tight, just to look down at my trembling hand, having ripped off a necklace. I think I know what's happening. I learned what to do. I stand up to feel the ground, and I shake my hands and try to take a deep breath in. My heart is pounding, and the room starts to spin. I back up into a corner of the wall. I don't feel safe. It doesn't feel like I'm real. I think I'm going to die. I start coughing, and my mouth is on fire. I spit something out. It all hits me. That's chili candy. It's supposed to help against panic attacks. I hug my chest and try to calm my nervous system. And I feel it all the tears streaming down my face, and I'm drenched in sweat. I barely manage to drag myself off the floor and into my bed. And I'm so exhausted, all I can do is fall asleep. I had a panic attack, one of many at the time. I could never understand why depression was affecting me so much. I knew I wasn't the only depressed teenager in the world. I could never find an answer, so I blamed myself. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't trying hard enough. And I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something fundamentally wrong with me. What finally helped me shift that perspective was the following diagnosis: ASD. Autism spectrum disorder. I wasn't surprised, nor did I feel any different. It had almost been a year since the diagnostic process had started, and at this point, it didn't even feel like it was for me, more a label for others to understand me better. There are so many aspects of autism spectrum disorder that I did not understand. So the first logical step for me, that was research. I wanted to understand what was so different about my brain and how I could function better in a world designed for neurotypicals. So I opened up my laptop, and I typed in ASD, and I hit search. And article after article appeared. There were so many terms, I had no idea what they meant. List of symptoms in boys, girls, children, adults. I took a deep breath, and I opened up the first one. What is ASD? An article by the National Institute of Mental Health. I learned that autism is a neurological and developmental disorder that affects social communication and interaction. I kept reading. Some of the symptoms are difficulties with the flow of conversation, having intense interest in specific topics, having difficulties with transitions, having unusual behavior, becoming upset by slight changes of routine, difficulty adjusting behavior to social situations, and difficulty making friends. I have all of those. I started to read the next sentence. ASD is a lifelong disorder. I stopped. These were the most discouraging words I could have possibly read. Because reading that, it meant that I will always be the girl who gets so overwhelmed by the noise in a full restaurant, she'd rather not go out at all. The girl who doesn't understand sarcasm and takes jokes literally. The girl who focuses so hard on making eye contact, she forgets to listen to what is actually being said. The girl who is so unsure of herself. The girl who overthinks every little thing she says, that is so scared to say or do the wrong thing, she doesn't say a word. She is quiet and lonely and terrified that she will always feel this way. The fear, it turned into anger, and I was so angry, I shut my laptop and never finished reading that sentence. I shut out everything regarding ASD. I didn't want to hear, see, or read the word autism. After countless hours of sitting on my therapist's couch, staring at an orchid that was slowly drying up, I realized if I wanted to change, I had to start putting in the work. The most important step that I could make was to take ownership of my life. It was all up to me. I had to start letting go of my anger. No one else could do that for me. My mother, she had always told that it was my life, that I had to choose to accept myself. She could be there for me every step of the way, but she couldn't do it for me. And at first, I had to admit to myself that I wanted to heal. And that might have been the hardest part of all, because it meant that I would have to deal with every single consequence, every insecurity I had, and every opportunity I ruined for myself. ASD, it is much more complex than I had realized. The traits and symptoms look different in every single individual, and even that can change over time. One of the most difficult moments for me is entering a new environment. I especially used to notice that going out to eat while on vacation with my family. So let me walk you through just the first 5 minutes of a restaurant experience I had in Italy. I walk in, and the delicious smell of pizza hits me. My eyes, they adjust to the dim lighting. But it's pretty loud in here. I sit down, and this chair, it feels very low. Is that intentional? I guess not. No one else is saying anything. There's a couple clinking glasses a few tables back. It's cute. Maybe they're celebrating. There's a buzzing sound, and I can't make out what that is. I hear my name. My dad's looking at me, and he has an annoyed expression. He must have been talking to me. I'm sorry, there is that buzzing sound again. Where is that coming from? It is incredibly difficult to try and explain my perception of the world to others. Because when talking about ASD, there is always a talk of a spectrum. And that spectrum, it's infinite. I like to imagine it as the color wheel. There are 1 million different pixels, each one a different color, just like every autistic person differentiates themselves from the others. Now, within each pixel, there's a following spectrum. There are different traits and symptoms. In other words, these are behaviors or recurring patterns that make up the life of people with ASD. So let's look at a few examples that make up a big part of my life. Special interest. When a thought consumes just everything. That is a topic you want to learn about, you want to talk about, that is all you want to do. For me, these special interests have ranged from the boy band, One Direction, to chemical components of skincare products. For some people, they change over time, and for others, they remain the same their entire life. Social differences. Within social differences, there is a term I identify with the most. It's called masking. Simply put, it's when an autistic person, so to speak, puts on a mask to adjust to social rules. I see it as a great tool for interacting with others, but masking can become a big problem when I start to suppress my needs and I don't give myself enough time to decompress and recharge, or I hide parts of myself in hopes that no one notices I'm autistic. Then, masking becomes one of the most draining things I could possibly put my mind and body through. Routine. Routine, it is very important. It establishes a feeling of stability and comfort, whereas changing that routine can cause extreme stress and anxiety. I have found my own little routines I can depend on. I watch the same TV shows and movies over and over again. Life is unpredictable. So knowing the beginning, middle, and end of a movie, it provides me with much needed comfort. A daily routine that I have is skincare. There are specific steps and instructions to follow, and I can change up a product occasionally, but the sequence, it never changes. A common daily routine is eating the same meal or snack every day. And a term for it is safe food. Sticking to these routines and rituals, it helps me tackle big changes, such as moving away from home or starting university. It helps to have a familiar routine when everything around me constantly changes. Since 2013, there are 3 different levels on the autism spectrum. I fall into level 1, meaning that I need low support in most of these areas. By definition, level 2 requires substantial support, and level 3 requires very substantial support. Of course, how that looks like, it varies from person to person. When I was diagnosed, I felt like I had to be the expert. When I would tell someone that I'm on the spectrum, they expected me to explain to them what that means. And I can share articles, statistics, but I cannot represent the entire spectrum. In my case, I have found that the most important skill I can have is to verbally express the kind of support I need. So to me, autism means that I like routine, I love schedules and lists, and I like to plan and prepare. And there's no better feeling than finding a song I listen to 1,000 times or a movie I'll watch over and over again, and I will eat the same thing every day and not get sick of it. But being autistic, it also means that I have to show myself more grace and stop comparing myself to others. The key for me, it's acceptance. Acceptance for who I was, who I am, and who I will become. I have the privilege of being young. I still have plenty of time to get to know myself better. Receiving a diagnosis, that was a jumpstart for me, but it's definitely not the end. Today, I can look back and see these last years as only a chapter of my life. All the hope of a future I had at 15, it vanished when I turned 16 and didn't dare to blow out a single candle. At 17, I knew I had to put in the hard work so that when I turned 18, I could start to feel like there was light at the end of the tunnel. At 19, I dared to try all that I had missed out on. And now, at 20, sharing a glimpse of my life with you, I have learned that it is only by being authentic that I can truly connect to people. And I know how vital it is to have the courage to do so. And as hard or lonely as it felt, healing, it gave me the chance to foster the longest relationship I'll ever have, the one with myself. And in such a fast-paced society that we live in, I continuously have to remind myself to take a moment, to look back at how far I've come, with no judgment or comparison, with no voices other than my own. And I like to imagine what it'll be like for me to look back in 5 years. But I know that what truly matters is that I am incredibly grateful for all that is, that was, and for what is yet to come.